and when he saw that he wasn't going to get what he wanted, he threatened her with a gun. She is a beautiful young woman, brunette with long hair, and she was at home lying on the sofa and typing on her phone, and by the looks of it the conversation must have been very good because she was very serene and with an air of joy on her face when her mother approaches saying that she was going to go to work and that she didn't want anyone there in her house, and then she leaves her there on the couch. But, as soon as her mother leaves, she with a smile says that she would call the guy she met on an app and immediately calls him. When he answers the phone he calls her babe and then asks what would be good for that day, and she says that her mother had gone out and asks him if he was just being silly and asks if he wants to go to her house. He says yes and asks her to send the location that he would get there soon, and she says that she would send the location and that she would wait for him, and they say goodbye. Brazil. Soon, but he arrives at her house and knocks on the gate and she comes out to receive him. As soon as she opens the gate he smiles and greets her calling her babe, and she calls him a beautiful thing and tells him to come in, and he asks if she's sure her mother wouldn't arrive, and she tells him to stop being scared and immediately pulls him inside saying that they would have a lot of things to do, and she closes the gate. Upon entering the house she asks him what he thinks about watching a movie, and he says it's okay as long as it wasn't romantic comedy. They sit down and she, resting her arm on his shoulder, says she doesn't like romantic comedy either and that he could be calm. And he says she was perfect, and she says she would never have imagined finding him on an app. He hugs her and soon they start kissing there on the couch. In this the mother at work picks up the phone saying she's going to call her daughter because she loves to get in trouble, and then she calls, but her daughter picks up the phone, looks and says her mother loved to be inconvenient, and leaving the phone their side and continued to make out with the boy. The mother says that she lives with the phone in her hand and wondering why she doesn't answer it, and decides to go to her house to see what was going on. Meanwhile at his house his daughter was there with the boy on the couch kissing and hugging, and then he starts to advance a little more trying to grab her but she removes his hand asking him to stop. He asks her what went and she says they were going too fast. He then asks what she called him there for and she says she just wanted to spend time with him, watch a movie, and that wasn't what she called him for. He tells her to be quiet and go back to what they were doing, which was much better. He then tries to grab her the force and she asks him to stop. He insists, forcing her, and she despairs trying to get rid of him and asking him to stop, and they stay there fighting on the couch. At that moment, the mother arrives, and when she opens the door, she hears her daughter asking her to let go of her and for him to take her hands away. The mother closes the door and without thinking runs towards her daughter, while the girl continued to ask him to let her go, and the mother then comes and screams at him to drop her daughter right then and there. He releases the girl and then pulls out a gun and standing up asks them to be quiet, pointing the gun at the girl, and she then asks him what that was and he tells her to be quiet and pointing the gun at the mother tells her to go to the couch too. The mother walks calmly towards her daughter while he points the gun at them. The mother says he can take everything and asks them not to hurt them, and he says he wasn't there after material goods, and in agony he rubs his hand on his head as if he were crazy. He says he didn't want anything from his mother and that he wanted his daughter, and says that by the way the mother is offering a toast. She desperately asks him not to do anything to her mother. While the mother panics, the girl hugs her mother and tells him to do what he wants with her, but not with his mother, and hugs his mother crying. While the two were there on the couch crying and scared, he tells the girl to start taking off her clothes, pointing the gun at them. He yells for her to start taking off her clothes right away, saying she wasn't kidding, and he agrees, and then it starts to undress too.